You're listening to the Garbage Pod.
29 and 28.
Remanded in custody.
There's something curious about this broadcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 18 of the Garbage Pod for the 25th of February 2013. With me from deepest, darkest Buckinghamshire is Garbage Pod regular Adri Bullhawk Mallows. How are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you, Mark, and good evening to everyone. I'm doing very well, thank you. How about yourself, sir?
Yeah, it's been a busy old day, but I think everything is now on the level.
What we like to hear, keeping it nice and calm and sane.
Brilliant. So, how does it feel to have your first season of podcasts under your belt?
It's been an interesting season. The action itself, there's been lots of ups and downs, great action, tear-jerking moments, the usual Buffalo collapse, but on the field, great sign-up for one of the best players to ever play the game, Mr. Ray Lewis, going out with a Super Bowl win. I'll talk more about that sort of thing on the podcast. From a podcasting point of view, it's been very much a steep learning curve, having to plan a show, edit a show, get some ideas in, having to change co-hosts as well after about 3 episodes, because EJ had work commitments, so couldn't unfortunately stay with it, so I had to deal with the trauma of changing staff, as it were. But it's been emotional. Luckily, halfway through the season, I saw sense and commissioned Spamhead Productions to edit the podcast for me, which is a great weight off my shoulders, and they have done some fantastic editing on my show, and it's really appreciated.
If you hadn't already realised, Adri hosts a NFL podcast. Being as it's the end of season, there are a few specials in the pipeline in the next couple of months, aren't there?
Yeah, there is. It's although there's no actual NFL action to speak of, this weekend we've just had the NFL Combine, which is a chance for all the up-and-coming players out of college to show their worth and have interviews with all the teams that they may potentially be drafted by in April. The way the American sports system works, instead of over here where it's all you sign who you like, they have a system where you play through the college system, and then the worst team in the league gets the first pick in the draft of all the players coming out of college the following year. So a lot of people do get drafted. Obviously there's some that don't quite make it. So we had the NFL Combine where they've showcased their talents this weekend, and then in April we have the actual live draft itself, which is always held in New York in Radio City. So I shall be doing a pre-draft podcast as well as a post-draft podcast, just to sort of fill everyone in on my take on who I think is going to go where, who the people to look out for are, and afterwards where they've been drafted to and the impact they'll have on those teams.
That's fantastic. Right, we also have a special guest on the line from East Anglia. It's fellow podcaster, jack of all trades and all-round nice bloke, Alan Taylor Shearer.
Well, after an intro like that, well, thank you very much indeed. I better live up to those high standards.
Well, welcome on board the Garbage Pod.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here within the pod.
Well, we like to call it round here the Podosphere.
The Podosphere, yes. A very good evening to all other members of the Podosphere. It's lovely to be along.
Right, when I said you were a jack of all trades, I wasn't joking. Why don't you tell the lovely listener a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I'm originally from Sheffield. I've moved around the country and the world. I am the father to 3 sons, eldest 21, youngest, he's going to be 14 this month. Wow. Married, and I've been a policeman. I've been in the RAF. Before that, I did some DJing and I did some commercial radio stuff. Then got a family, took a break, got a proper job with the RAF and with South Yorkshire Police. Left the RAF in 2010 and now found myself in a lovely, lovely corner of Norfolk, just outside Kings Lynn. And I'm doing photography, and I'm podcasting, and I'm doing talk radio, I'm doing music radio. I've got a syndicated show with a station based in Boston in Lincolnshire called A Kick Up the 80s, and that's live every Wednesday from 7 o'clock, www.endeavourradio.co.uk, for all the finest quality 80s cheese. And then on Tuesday and Thursday, the main bulk of the podcasting I do a live talk show, which is archived, and then that becomes the podcast, and it's called 1800 Online, because I'm online at 6 o'clock, and out it goes, and I have guests in, and we cover some quite serious topics. I've done 28 shows since the 21st of August last year, and as the podcast title says, the talk show streams live Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock, and it covers everything from snail racing, that was the first topic we talked about, through to the New World Order, aspartame, the dangers of Pepsi, who actually runs the world, is David Icke as crazy as he looks, and more.
Yes, it's a pity young John Witz, who's another one of our co-hosts that we have on the show, is known because he is fascinated by David Icke.
Well, I always thought
it was snail racing.
Hey, we have the World Championships here, just down the road from where I live, in Congham, and it's the only official snail racing world championship that's recognised by the Guinness Book of Records.
Is that the event that Rory McGrath and Paddy McGuinness was involved in?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
Yes. That's within sort of stone throwing distance from my little bungalow up here in this lovely corner of Norfolk.
I've not actually been to King's Lynn, but I used to spend many summers in Norfolk. So I agree with you. Norfolk is a fantastic part of the country,
and it's so flat.
This is true.
I mean, I come from Sheffield, which is built on 7 hills. I'm an excellent hill starter in my car. I'm totally out of practice here.
So do you have trouble when you go back?
Yes. I have to figure out what to do. Now, thankfully, I've got one of these flashy automatic cars that has a hill start system on its automatic gearbox. So it kind of reminds me and goes ding ding and then starts the car for me. I'm incredibly lazy.
Sensible, I think, is the word for having an automatic car with a hill start.
Yeah. You mentioned about your sons. I remember, it makes me laugh every time I saw it. I think it was on Social Cam or something.
Oh yes.
It was the one where you were sat in the car with your two lads.
Yeah.
Kind of playing musical roulette, if you like, and it came on with Rick Astley. And it was the look on your youngest's face.
I rickrolled them.
Yeah, we did.
Now Freddie is my eldest. He's 21, and the other son that was in the car that time was Connor, who's just about 14, and there's James as well, but we call him Billy for many, many reasons, which I won't go into here because there are, sort of normal people listening. And I've been playing sort of, like 3 seconds of an intro of a tune, and they were mostly rock tunes because we're very much into rock. I passed that genetically onto my children, and then all of a sudden I see it on the list. Never gonna give you up, and I hit him with it. Bang! Got him rickrolled. Awesome.
I just like the way that it was currently followed by Slipknot. I thought that was awesome.
I suppose that, you see, the thing is, they love all that sort of real metal stuff. So I actually locked my middle son, James, or Billy, I locked him in the car today and sang Take That song at him. Oh,
that's just cruel.
Yeah.
Which one did you choose?
Well, it was just the next one that came on the radio. It was Whatever I said, whatever I didn't mean it. I just want you back for good. And it came on the radio, and I sang the whole song. And he said, if you don't stop, I'm getting out. So I've just hit the child lock and trapped him in the car. Now, he's sitting there with really, really long hair down his back and a black leather jacket and then a sleeveless denim jacket over the top with a Motorhead back piece on it and Slipknot and Slayer and everything. And he's sitting there being forced to listen to me singing a Take That song.
That's fantastic.
Ultimate
Made my day.
Excellent.
Crichton, what are you doing, man?
Oh, sir, I'm listening to the Garbage Pod. It's a podcast I found in the podosphere.
Many of you know that I like to watch and often promote on Twitter and Facebook an online space-related internet show called Space Vidcast. Well, recently I posted a blog entry about their latest season, and to my surprise, Space Vidcast hosts Ben and Carrie-Anne Higginbotham gave the Garbage Pod a plug live on air and even put a link to us on the Space Vidcast chat room in a recent episode. Have a listen to this.
Garbage Pod.
Oh,
Thank you for the shout out, Garbage Pod, if I may. So Garbage Pod basically said these guys are awesome, so lied through his teeth. And
I would say he's never watched the show before, but I know he has.
And so that's the Garbage Pod link. And UTC is not GMT for non-space people. UTC is not a space thing. If you open up your Windows 7 computer, go to your clock, you're going to see your offsets as -7 UTC. Same thing with your latest Macintosh. Prior to Windows 7, it said GMT. GMT is being phased out in favor of UTC. It's not a space thing. Space thing would be SCET, or Spacecraft Event Time.
Now, what he was referring to is that I actually plugged their show by saying that it goes out at 9 p.m. On a Saturday, UTC. And for people not in the know, UTC was GMT for non-space people. And that's what he was correcting me on. Yeah, UTC is basically military time, I think. And it stands for Universal Time Coordinated.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yes.
While we're on the topic of space, before we go on to the main part of the show, this week brings a couple of important space launches that I thought deserved a mention. Firstly, at lunchtime today, India's Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, or PSLV, as everybody knows in the space industry, everything has an abbreviation, was launched from the Satish Dhawan Space Centre in India. The payload on board the PSLV included the Saral Ocean Altimetry Satellite. The Saral is a collaboration between France and India designed to measure sea surface height from space. Also on board was Canada's Sapphire Space Surveillance Payload and the NeoSat Space Telescope. Their mission is to search for near-Earth asteroids. The two tiny satellites are billed as the world's smallest space telescopes and are known as nanosatellites because of their size. Built in the shape of a cube, sort of like Borgish, the tiny spacecraft are less than 8 inches wide and weigh less than 15.5 pounds. Also this week, on the 1st of March at 10 past 3 p.m. GMT, or 10 past 10 a.m. EST, that's local time, SpaceX will be launching their second cargo mission to the International Space Station. The Falcon 9 rocket will launch the fourth Dragon spacecraft from the Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida as part of the commercial resupply services contract with NASA. The Dragon capsule will be filled with about 1,200 pounds of supplies and experiments for the space station crew, and Dragon is scheduled to return to Earth on the 25th of March for a parachute-assisted splashdown in the Pacific Ocean just off of California. It will bring back more than 2,300 pounds of experiment samples and equipment.
Now, Mark, Adri, because I knew I was coming along to the pod this evening, I went hunting for something space-related so that I could sound intelligent. And in space, can people hear you scream?
Apparently, according to the quote, no one can.
Well, researchers at the University of Surrey have blasted a smartphone into space to see if screams can be heard.
Didn't they need to send someone to answer it?
Well, you would have thought so, wouldn't you? They hope to use a purpose-built app to test the theory immortalised in the film Alien that in space no one can hear a scream. The film will play out several screams submitted by people online. The test will monitor the durability of standard commercial components in space. So that I really sound intelligent, they're going to test two new innovative propulsion systems. The first is named Warp Drive, Water Alcohol Resisto-Jet Propulsion Deorbit Re-Entry Velocity Experiment, and uses the ejection of water alcohol mixture to provide thrust. And the second one is Pulse Plasma Thrusters, apparently.
I'm just waiting for the...
Well done, sir. That's good work.
I'm just waiting for the point when somebody does actually answer it. And that will completely freak them out.
Hello? Hello?
Well, they've gone through to a call centre.
Can I help you?
Well, India are pretty much in the space race these days, so...
Well, yes, this was launched from India, so...
I wanted to come back to that, actually. Did you say, is it the PLSV?
The PSLV, the Polar...
PSLV, sorry.
Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle.
Right, okay. Did I hear you mention that it's going to monitor asteroids?
The Canadian one is, yeah. It's studying low Earth asteroids, basically because of this new mining thing that they're bringing in, similar to the film Armageddon, mining asteroids.
Mining asteroids for minerals?
That and other things like hydrogen and other fuels, because they really want to find out whether they can harness energy from these asteroids to get them further into deep space.
I was wondering if it had anything to do with, obviously, the latest craze that's trying to scare everyone about meteors, bearing in mind everything that happened in Russia last week.
It's been on the cards for a long time. There are some more asteroids or an asteroid field coming in this direction towards December, and apparently you'll be able to see it very clearly from the human eye.
The videos I saw on YouTube last week, it was very clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely it was, yeah. The visuals and the sound effects.
But there's also a joke going on about that, because they're saying that the four horsemen of the apocalypse couldn't get here in time because...
They're running low on horses.
Tesco value horsemen of the apocalypse.
See, that horse meat was actually a good thing then, is what you're trying to say.
Pretty much, yeah. It stopped the end of the world.
Well, there was another thing as well, thinking about the end of the world. Do you know when Pope Benedict resigned?
Yeah.
I heard that a massive fork lightning hit the Vatican.
Yeah, I saw the pictures of that. That was quite amazing.
Now that's a sign right there. I don't care what anyone...
I actually, it reminds me of something I actually said to a vicar once. That I noticed that they had a lightning conductor on the side of the church, and I said to him, God actually controls everything, you know, the elements and what have you, and he said, yes, this is true. And I said, well, why have you got a lightning conductor on the side of your building? Do you not trust your boss? He did not know what to say to that one.
No, quite. Oh, just look at this article about the smartphone, by the way. There's a little footnote at the bottom that says, the team does not expect to get the smartphone back.
Well, that'll invalidate the warranty on it then.
Won't it just? Imagine that at the Genius Bar.
So what, they're just going to take all the recordings from the app then, it sounds like, and then...
Let's have a look. Oh, here we go. At various points, the app will play videos of the screams and monitor if the phone's onboard speaker picks up the noise.
Well, you see, noise is an energy wave, basically. So in space, you don't actually hear it, you actually feel it and see it as a waveform. So there is a possibility you will see it rather than hear it.
Right. There's the screams set for intergalactic broadcast include an ear-bursting effort from Year 6 at Chudley C Community Primary School and a very dramatic no from Richard Barrington. And there's a lovely picture of Sigourney Weaver, who I am still in love with all these years on from 1979.
Oh, wow, yeah, when the first Alien came out.
Yeah.
I'm thinking more along the lines of 1984 when she was in Ghostbusters, when she was hovering above that bed.
Oh, in that translucent dress.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're supposed to say that you are the Keymaster.
That's the one. No, but I'm a friend of his.
Yes.
Yeah, he had a message for you.
Oh, she's gorgeous.
Bonjour, kittens. Laura LaRue here. Whenever I'm in the podosphere, there's only one place to be. The Garbage Pod.
Let's crack on with the main part of the show. I asked Adri and Alan to scavenge the news pages to see what they could find in relation to some unusual news stories. Already we can see that Alan came up with a really good story there. Who wants to start the ball rolling?
Well, how can I follow that? Maybe I should let the man go himself again.
Okay, here we go then. From KingsLynOnline.com, and I mentioned them purely because they sponsor my show, 1800 Online, so it would be right, really, to plug the sponsors. They have a fun dog show, February the 19th. Frodo, the Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, and he, the dog itself, is in charge of organising the Hunstanton Fun Dog Show, the only dog show that's organised by a dog. And he'd like to invite all the doggies out there to come along. So this highly intelligent canine who organises single-pawed show in Hunstanton for all his mates was put out a request for everybody to come along to Hunstanton on Sunday the 12th of May from 11:30 and to show themselves in public.
I think that's a brilliant story. I think, Mark, don't you have one which would tie in nicely, and maybe the dog in your story might be related to this one?
Quite probably, actually. Police officers jokingly filled in a witness statement in the name of a police force dog following a CPS mix-up. The Crown Prosecution Service asked for an account of a crime from PC Peach, not realising that Peach was the name of the police dog. The dog's statement read, "I chase him, I bite him, bad man, he tasty, good boy Peach." The form was signed by a paw print and pinned up at the West Midlands police station last week. A photograph of the note then found its way onto Facebook. However, the CPS has since complained over the incident, taking issue with the fact that its mistake has become a public joke.
Goodness sake. Along the lines of that, I mentioned earlier when I was talking about myself that I used to be a policeman, and the quick story I'd like to share with you now is genuine, and the names have been changed to protect the stupid. I was just coming towards the end of a shift one evening, and I was filing my paperwork, and there's some of the paperwork had to be faxed down to the CPS at the court in the centre of Sheffield, and there was already an officer stood at the fax machine, so I dutifully waited until she'd finished, and she put her paperwork in and dialed the number, which I recognised to be the CPS number, and the paper went in, and as fax machines do, it came out the bottom, and she gathered all the paper up and popped it back into the machine, dialed the number again, pushed it again, and I thought, oh, she's been asked to send 2 copies, and this went on a couple more times. And I sort of finally intervened and said, is everything okay? Is there a problem with the fax? Because obviously I was concerned that my fax might not go through. And she said, well, I'm not sure, but it all seems to be still here. I said, I'm sorry. She said, well, all the stuff I'm sending is still here. It hasn't gone.
That is fantastic.
I had to leave at that point, and I filed my paperwork at a later date.
After being hysterics for about half an hour afterwards.
Yes, these are the people out there protecting our freedom.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
What have you got there, Adri?
I found a couple from our fantastic favourite paper, Not the Sun. I don't know if anyone's heard of this, but the headline catches the eye. It's called SpecTwit Mocked, and it's hasten to add, the driver was fine, but you'll find out when I go through. A driver was the target of a torrent of online jokes after crashing his car into Specsavers. A passerby tweeted pictures of the accident with the optician's TV ad catchphrase, should have gone to Specsavers. Hundreds more tweeted the same joke. Apparently the shop window in Sevenoaks, Kent was cracked in the smash yesterday lunchtime, but police said the driver was not hurt.
Oh, bless. Well, that's good then.
I'd love to see that. I'm going to go out and hunt that picture down because that's fantastic.
It actually reminds me, a few years ago on New Year's in Aylesbury, there used to be well, it's now the car phone warehouse, but it used to be an AA insurance building. And it's kind of like a T-junction, and the building is in front of the T-junction there, and a taxi was careering down the road towards the T-junction, and its brakes failed and went straight through the AA insurance building.
Oh, irony.
Exactly. That's the true definition of it, isn't it?
I have another here, which is also animal related. In Florida, describing it as a real close call, a local seagull suffering from an acute case of diarrhea told reporters that he was barely able to make it to a crowded public beach in time to relieve himself Monday. Quote, "Oh man, I really had to go, and there wasn't a sunbather or occupied picnic table in sight. I honestly didn't know if I could hold it," said the grey and white seabird, who reportedly uttered a deep, contented sigh of relief upon finally reaching a densely packed group of beachgoers and releasing a voluminous torrent of loose fecal matter. The last thing you want is to just go right over the water or a bare stretch of sand, but thankfully I spotted a few families without beach umbrellas and was able to make it hold it just long enough. Must have been some bad parking lot hot dog I ate. At press time, the seagull reportedly felt another oncoming urgent bowel movement and was rapidly racing towards the nearest convertible.
See, I have to laugh, but I've actually been the victim of a seagull attack like that.
It's supposed to be good luck, isn't it?
Well, you don't think that at the time. This was New Year's Eve, sort of 2011. I was in New York, and me and my friends were just down near the Brooklyn Bridge, and we're just sort of about to go and walk over it, sort of leave the park there, and I kind of felt something on my head, and I was like, what's that? Didn't know whether it was blood or whatever, like rain. Put my hand on my head, and I was like, crap, quite literally.
Actually, thinking on things that are supposed to be good luck, we were in some caves down it was in Ibiza, and there was these stalactites, and apparently if the water from the stalactites lands on you, it's supposed to be a year good luck. If it lands on your nose, it's supposed to be 5 years good luck.
Right.
Well, it landed on my watch and it stopped. So, what do you say to that?
Well, the water-resistant properties must have been defeated by the high strength of the salt. Is it salts and stuff inside the water there? Yeah. See, I'm being all sciencey, see, and I'm showing my intelligence again.
Yeah, well played.
Yeah.
Well, that's great with us because we're very easily impressed.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah, definitely. I found another one which is a bit of a strange one. For all those comic book fans out there, soon your dreams may become a reality. Again, another nugget from the Sun. The MOD say X-Men will be a reality.
Oh.
I'm not sure if I believe them, because in the article they've got their maths slightly wrong, which you'll find out just now. Apparently superhumans like the X-Men will exist by 2045. Defence boffins have claimed. They say genetic experiments will create a superior race within 30 years. A little bit longer to 2045, but we won't go there. Mutant humans like Wolverine, Storm and Rogue from the X-Men movies are possible, a Ministry of Defence think tank was told. A 2-day summit to predict the future reported advancements in gene technology could lead to a class of genetically superior humans by 2045.
Yeah, you wait till that goes wrong.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, big time. It would be more like The Fly than X-Men, I feel.
Yeah. Now, this is the kind of stuff that is food for my talk show, messing with genetics and all that kind of stuff, and the New World Order. But my previous military experiences, sort of, I've seen how the technical advancements have jumped forward by leaps and bounds. They really have. Yeah, the genetic stuff. Didn't somebody try making a load of genetically perfect people sort of in the last century, sort of in the 30s and 40s?
Yeah, I think when someone was doing their European tour, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah. I think that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Dangerous stuff.
But it reminds me of I don't know if you've seen the new anti-smoking campaign, where it talks about every time you take a cigarette, you become mutated.
Yes.
And I thought, this is not a good advert, because kids are going to be watching this thinking, hey, I can become a mutant. I'll be an X-Man.
No. No.
It's not good.
No, don't give them those ideas.
That's it, yeah. That's not the reason behind the advert. It's not cool to smoke.
No, it's not.
It's not. Well, it's not, because in theory, I mean, both my parents smoked, and it wasn't the fact that it was dangerous to your health in that respect that I didn't smoke. It was the fact that you were setting light to some leaves and sticking them in your mouth. Came across as being a bit daft.
Yeah. And you're always being told to not play with matches, yet they're holding one in front of their faces, under their nose, and in my case, very close to my most precious possession, which is the tash.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I am but a life support system and mode of transport for the tash.
Really?
It's been with me since I was 14. It latched onto me. You know, they say that the pet chooses the owner. Well, the tash chose me.
Now, did you?
What style have you gone for then?
Well, at the moment, he's a kind of I hate to say it, but he's kind of 70s porn star.
Oh dear.
At the moment.
So let me guess. The next fancy dress party, you'll be going as one of the village people.
Been there, done that. I'm afraid.
Fantastic. All you needed was the outfit, because you already had the tash. That's awesome.
Yeah. I think I've still got my leather hat somewhere.
Brilliant.
Because did you grow yours for the same reason that I did, to try and get served in pubs?
Yeah. And also Freddie Mercury had one, so it just seemed that I should. I didn't realise that what he was actually doing was fitting in with all the other clones who were around at that point, all looking exactly the same, all going to the same bars with the same intentions.
Oh, the Blue Oyster.
I didn't realise that at the time, you see.
It reminds me of when I went out with a friend of mine who I didn't know was gay at the time, and we went out for a drink, and I was very naive about different pubs, shall I say, and we got to the front door of a pub in Aylesbury, which used to be called I don't think it's still there now, the Saracen's Head.
Let me guess, you saw the rainbow and thought it was a pretty feature.
Well, he stopped at the door and said, you have to be pretty broad-minded to come in here. And I just let that blow straight over my head and went in, and very quickly I realised what kind of pub it was. So, which I've got no problem with, but I didn't realise, and that was when he sort of came out, if you like.
Right.
Yeah, to be fair, it was a good night out in there, actually. I went there for one of the guys I work with. It was his birthday, and he obviously wanted to go in there, and a group of us all went in there with him, and actually it was one of the best nights out I've had, to be fair. It was just so relaxed, no hassle, everyone's just there to have a good time.
Well, they've had quite a range of different gay bars in Aylesbury, actually, because they used to have a pub called the Windmill, which was a gay bar, which then closed down and reopened as a non-alcoholic cocktail lounge.
Wow.
Which didn't last very long, and now is a Vet's.
Oh, okay.
Whereabouts is that?
Hamden's in.
Hamden's.
Yeah.
No way. That's been there years.
Yeah. So.
Lord.
A lot of people used to get barred from this non-alcoholic cocktail lounge by saying, "Didn't this used to be a gay bar?" But
put the cat down. It's not that type of establishment anymore.
But
oh, sorry, I was just thinking, do they still treat hamsters? But
the other pub that is now a gay bar there is called the Mango now.
Mango's isn't a gay. I don't think it's a gay bar. No, it's where all the young'uns go these days.
Then why has the sign outside got a rainbow on it?
Because they like pretty colours and they don't know what it means.
Is it like maybe an 80s children's programme themed bar?
No, if it was, I'd be in there all the time.
They think they're looking for bungle.
Yes. Zippy. Yes. He was always the fun one, remember?
I think we can't do this without letting my good friend here say a few words.
Oh dear, you are naughty.
That's my talking George.
Everybody should have a talking George.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I had a talking Zippy, but I gave him away.
Why? How
that
could
was
you?
Stupid.
I know, it was silly, but she was a lovely girl, so I put a little note in his mouth.
I see.
It was a love token. That's fine. As if he would like that, yes.
Dear old Roy Skelton.
That was a great impression.
Oh, thank you very much. See, if I'm not careful, he becomes
Tommy Cooper.
Tommy Cooper,
yeah, I did notice.
If I'm allowed to do a couple of impressions, if that's all right with you, Mark.
Sure, no worries.
Well, I think it's appropriate, and I've had this one approved, if you like, by its original creator. Sirs, it's lovely to be here in the pod again, but I do notice there's a slight whiff of Corey Source. Has Mr. Lister been in here? You see, but I have to be careful, because if I carry that on too long, it becomes that Brannigan, and I go looking for the sweet, silvery, flaky gorgeousness that is Leela in velour.
Fantastic.
But you never know. You never know who's going to pop up next. There's enough people in here already.
Is that what you said?
Hey!
On the moustache front, Mark, I think, do you have another strange one for us there?
Ah, yes, indeed. They've recently had some local elections in India, and I don't know if I'm actually pronouncing this correctly, in the state of Meghalaya. Meghalaya.
Go with your first pronunciation.
Well, it's in northwest India. A politician by the name of Adolf Hitler is competing in the was competing in the elections. Adolf Lou Hitler Marak said his parents did not know the background of his name. Really? And, and that he has nothing in common with the Nazi Adolf Hitler. Maybe my parents like the name, but I am not a dictator.
Oh, come on. They didn't know.
There's a joke there about living in a cave.
But get this. Among the 345 candidates running for the state assembly are Frankenstein Momin, Billy Kid Sangma, Field Marshal Mang Fang.
Let's just go back to Billy Marshall sang what?
Billy Kid Sangma.
There you go.
and Romeo Rani. And then you've got some like Kennedy Morak, Kennedy Cornelius Karim, and Jahim Carter Sangmar are hoping that their electoral success of their namesake American presidents.
Oh, for goodness.
Wow.
I think there's an American who's actually taken on English or British nationality, and he's standing as well, and his name is Chim Chimmery Chim Chimmery Chim Chim Chiru.
Are they going to be quite big polling cards?
I'd imagine with 345 candidates. I mean, the election was on Saturday, and they'll probably get round to finishing it this time next year.
The Garbage Pod. Your input is our output.
I found another completely unrelated to Adolf news story. It's kind of on a common theme these days about alternative fuels. There's going to be a pilot who's going to attempt the first flight powered only by household plastic waste. He's going to be attempting a 10,500 mile trip from Sydney to London using a fuel that has never been tested in the air, and it's produced entirely from plastic waste. Mr. Rosell will be flying a single-engine Cessna 172 about 1,500 miles a day at a speed of about 115 mile an hour.
That's pretty impressive if you can do it, but
yeah,
something tells me it might annoy some of the fuel companies.
Well, quite possibly, but it's saying here his flight will be powered by 5 tons of discarded packaging and waste collected from rubbish dumps and using a pioneering technique melted down into 1,000 gallons of aviation-grade diesel. He plans to leave Sydney in July, flying over Asia, the Middle East, and then Europe, and hoping to arrive in London 6 days later.
That's awesome.
What are our thoughts on that as an alternative fuel?
Well, yeah, because plastic is basically oil, isn't it? So
Yeah.
it's really just returning it to its original, or close to its original state.
That's exactly what it's saying, and it's predominantly petroleum, so that's why they're...
Well, it seems a perfectly good use of something that takes thousands of years to degrade and would otherwise end up being made into something useful, like a phone or something.
It's kind of like a very loose term of the perpetual motion when you think about it.
Yeah. Oh, yes, that's true. And what about these magnet engines as well, these permanent magnet engines? Have you seen those?
Yeah, I saw a piece about it on some Australian news program. I think some guy in Australia came up with the concept.
Yes, there's an Australian version I've seen with 3 rotors inside a stator and these permanent magnets. He's spent years working out the angle that they all have to be at, and I've seen it working. And then you sort of. Well, I say I've seen it working. I've seen a YouTube video of it working. And basically, he closes these 2 clamps, and the wheel starts spinning, and it's spinning. And as long as the clamps are closed, which sort of completes the circle, if you like, the thing spins, and it's connected to a generator, and it makes power. There's a small tabletop version that a Mexican has put together, which is basically along the same lines, but instead of the rotors clamping together, the stators clamping together, the stators are on slide poles, and he basically slides them across. It makes the circle complete, and the thing spins and generates electricity. And there's a Eastern European chap who took this, one step further and has basically enclosed the spinning rotor inside what looks like a washing machine drum. So if you can visualise a washing machine drum, and then sticking out the front is a spindle, is an axle, and he uses a hammer to sort of knock something into place at the back, and the thing starts spinning, and it gets up to really high speed. It's many, many thousands of RPMs, and it generates electricity until he sort of pulls it apart, and otherwise it just sits there spinning.
Wow.
Without any other external force. And they all sort of demonstrate the fact that they've not got it connected to anything by lifting it up and sort of holding it and and then stripping it down and showing that there's no batteries inside and all that kind of stuff. It's
that's phenomenal.
It's quite amazing, but as I say, some of these things do upset the fossil fuel people a little bit, and they try and pay people to disappear, as it were.
Yes. I mean, there's loads of these things on YouTube. You know, sort of a guy back in the 70s designed a hydrogen car, or it just ran on water or something, and I didn't look at the whole details of it, but he disappeared.
Well, there's this, I think it's called the Sabre engine.
Right.
And basically it's a plane that can take off normally like a normal plane and then go into deep space. It'll just fly like a normal plane but in space. And the guy is English who actually has designed this.
Gosh.
And he's been working on it for 40, 50 years. I mean, he's 80 odd, I think.
Right.
And he's trying to get someone to take it on before he's too old to do anything with.
Well, there's a project for us, chaps.
Yeah.
Because right now is the time for independent space-related companies, because your government-funded space programs are inefficiently managed, shall I say.
I love the way you said that, inefficiently managed.
So now you've got these, what they call new space companies involved, like your SpaceX, who are the big boys at the moment. There are lots of other companies out there. But the guy who owns and runs SpaceX has got his fingers in so many pies. I mean, he's the guy who designed the Tesla car, the electric car.
Yes.
And he also invented PayPal.
Oh, that's clever.
So, Elon Musk, his name is, a South African fella, and he's got so much going on inside that head of his.
I've actually just found, it looks like it's an old article actually, going back to November 28th last year, but there's an actual article online on the National Post about the Skylon space plane.
That is the Skylon.
It's using Sabre
engines, yes. Yeah. Does it actually mention the guy who invented?
All we've got here, Chief Executive Tim Hayter. Is that not?
Sounds like the guy, yes.
And it just sort of starts off with a small British company with a dream of building a reusable space plane. As you're saying about the standing start, is saying it produces thrust by burning hydrogen and oxygen. But inside the atmosphere, it would take that oxygen from the air, reducing the amount it would have to carry in fuel tanks for rocket mode.
Actually, if you look up Skylon or the Sabre engine on YouTube, there are some quite good documentaries about it on there.
There's a few YouTube clips on here, actually. I'll have to send you the link, mate, because it's something that I think the listeners might be quite interested in, so they can have a look and a read.
Yeah, that'll be something I can put in the show notes. Yeah, that'll definitely.
Yeah. Wow.
It's a very, very clever engine. But
nice. To somebody like me who's not sort of engineering related, I've always thought, well, if it uses so much energy to get in a rocket and go vertical straight up, why not get in a plane and just keep flying up and looping up?
Well,
is that not?
That is feasible. They have actually developed an idea where the idea is to strap a rocket to a balloon and get the balloon to go up to the atmosphere that you need it at, and then just drop the rocket cuts in and goes the rest of the way.
You hope the rocket cuts in.
It's a little bit like I've forgotten his name now. The Austrian fellow that went up in
Felix Baumgartner.
Baumgartner, is it? Something like that. Anyway.
Right.
Felix.
Yeah. He's the bloke that jumped out the balloon, isn't he?
Yeah, and everyone's saying he went from
wings.
He went from the edge of space, but he actually didn't.
Oh, controversial. Why didn't he?
Well, he went from 128,000 feet. The edge of space is 264,000 feet.
Oh. But he wouldn't be able to go from space because upon re-entering the Earth's atmosphere,
he would have just blown up, yeah. But
he would have got crispy.
But everyone was saying, he went from the edge of space, and then the space contingency are going, no, he didn't.
No, he was still inside the atmosphere, which is the whole reason why he did it.
Yeah.
Right,
Plus,
right.
if he was in space, would he necessarily have the gravity to pull him back into the Earth?
That's right.
And wouldn't he have to be at a certain angle, otherwise he would just bounce off and deflect back into space and all sorts of stuff like that.
But the thing that upset me about him is he did this press conference where he was slagging off basically the space industry, saying it's not necessary, we don't need it, we don't need anything that they do. And I thought, did you see all the stuff that you went up to in?
Yeah, that's it. Did you not
How do you think
NASA
that stuff was
space?
tested?
Yeah.
All that stuff that he used wouldn't be there unless there was a space sort of industry.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's like,
But it was a remarkable achievement, to be fair. He made
oh yeah, he's done something that no one else has
statement,
ever done. So I'm not saying he didn't do anything impressive, because he did something extraordinary. But how it was put across in the press, he didn't do what he said on the tin.
No, but did either of you see the documentary on it? Because there was the old boy, the American fighter pilot, who
he's the guy who
did it from a smaller distance. He did it from about 108, I think, didn't he?
Yeah.
But he went up in an open basket, didn't he? It was an open gondola he went up in.
Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. And I remember him saying that in that programme, he was saying that he didn't let anyone know, but he actually had a tiny hole in his spacesuit by his hand, and he didn't want to say anything because obviously
put your finger over it, it'll be fine.
But he could just feel his hand swelling and swelling as he got higher and higher in altitude, and still managed to A, survive, and B, get back down to Earth.
It's some of these stories that you hear of from NASA when they were designing the different, like the Saturn V rockets that went up to the moon and all that kind of stuff, and you think to yourself, we'd never be able to do it now because of health and safety.
Exactly.
They didn't bother with half of it then. It was like, just suck it and see, you know. It's, that kind of.
That's when men were men and women were men as well.
In that case, I think I prefer this era.
Yeah, me too, actually.
You're listening to the Garbage Pod,
where your input
is our output.
I've got a story here. BBC Six Music has apologised after a blunder concerning a news report about Oscar Pistorius. The station played Jimi Hendrix's Hey Joe after the news report about the Paralympian's ongoing trial into the death of his girlfriend Reva Steenkamp. Obviously, you know the song and you know the lyrics.
Yeah.
For people who don't know the lyrics to the song, they go, "Hey Joe, where you going with that gun in your hand? I'm going to shoot my old lady. You know I caught her messing around with another man."
Prophetic.
DJ Namone Metaxas apologised to the listeners about halfway through the record when she realised what it was and turned it off instantly.
For goodness sake.
But you see, the problem is with that, after the news on the BBC, the songs are completely randomly generated.
Yeah.
So you don't know what's actually coming up, because usually there's no one around, because when the news is on there, they use it as a coffee break, toilet break, whatever.
That's right.
So quite unfortunate.
Absolutely. When you first told me that story, I thought it was going to be something I've seen a picture of, actually, a poster of, where it says, "Here come the hot stepper, murderer."
He's a lyrical gangster.
Murderer.
Excuse me, Mr. Officer.
Murderer.
Don't love me like that. Or something along those lines.
I haven't heard that for ages. What's that? Izzy Kamosi, wasn't it? I think did that.
Digging into my musical archive, I'm going to say, I think so.
I'm pretty good with things like that.
Unsuspecting movie stars follow fake red carpet into the back of a kidnapper's van. Topical. Los Angeles
that
police.
can't be true.
Los Angeles police confirmed that Denzel Washington, Naomi Watts, Jacqueline Phoenix, and nearly a dozen other top-name actors had gone missing ahead of Sunday's Academy Awards after following a fake red carpet laid outside the Dolby Theatre that reportedly led into the back of an idling windowless van. It appears that the kidnappers were able to use an array of camera flashes, canned fan screaming, and an imposter catty fashion reporter to lure these unsuspecting movie stars right into their grasp.
Now, I think that story is made for the phrase "only in America."
Yes, definitely.
You've got to say that with the right voice there, haven't you?
Only in America.
There we go.
Voiceover man in the garbage pod. One man, one pod. Etc.
I miss those trailers.
In a time, in a land, there was one man, one boy, one chance. Etc. Yeah, my voiceover man has been used for actual sort of jingles and stuff that I've done for people in the past.
It's brilliant.
And it wears on the throat after a while, but I can usually keep that going for a while.
Yeah, occasionally I used to try and do the claw from the Inspector Gadget program, and that used to kill my throat doing that.
Yeah.
Next time, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Next time, Gadget, I'll get you. Now that comes from right down deep in the chest. That.
Oh yeah, it sounds it.
But yeah, my impressions are not fantastic, and most of them end up being like Wookie Bird, that kind of stuff.
Free people of America, where is it for? Nancy, I've got 2 buttons here. One's nurse, one's nuke. What do I push? Now the problem I have is if I'm doing an impression, it's generally an impression of an impressionist doing an impression.
No, yeah, you were doing Chris Barry there.
Yes, yeah.
Exactly,
you see.
I don't know if you know that, Adri, but the impressions in Spitting Image, the majority of them were, well, a lot of them were done by Chris Barry.
Oh, fantastic.
And who was the other one that used to... I know Ted Robbins used to do some of the voices on there. I'm trying to remember who else did the voices.
I think Harry Enfield did something,
Yes, he did, didn't he? Yeah.
And Alan Partridge from around here in Norwich, in Norfolk.
Yes.
Aha!
Norfolk FM.
Mid-morning matters. Actually, he's up in Cromer at the minute doing some filming for an Alan Partridge film, or it's another series or something.
Yeah, they are apparently filming an Alan Partridge movie, so that'll be
Good
interesting.
Lord. Let's talk about Alan. Aha!
Now, how often do you do that, Alan?
Can we skip over that, please? For copyright reasons, obviously.
Because apparently they're going to make a Mrs. Brown movie as well, and I don't think that would work because you'd need to have the cameramen and everything, because that's all part of the joke, if you like.
Now, you see, when I first saw that, I didn't watch. Or did I? No, I didn't watch them live. I sort of saw them on iPlayer after my wife had been raving about them, and I sat and watched them, and I was like, "Are these just sort of the outtakes?" Because I could sort of see the studio, and you could see the join effectively, which you're not supposed to see out or whatever.
Yeah. I think...
And then I watched the second one, and it was the same, and I sort of said, "Is it supposed to be like this?" And apparently, yeah, that's how they made it.
I think it's quite funny though. Well, you don't get any extras on the DVD because it's all in the program. But
you're listening to the Garbage Pod with Mark Taylor and Adri Bullhawk Mallows.
There's only one place to be. The Garbage Pod.
The Oxfordshire town of Chipping Norton have opened a yacht club. Undeterred by its landlocked position, the locals have shown a surprising interest, with more than 100 sailing enthusiasts keen to join, despite the fact that the town is over 100 miles from the nearest coastline and 700 feet above sea level, and they do not have any river frontage either.
Good Lord.
Trevor Taylor, whose idea it was no relation, said there are many people in the town and neighbouring countryside who are keen sailors and want somewhere where they can socialise without having to journey to the nearest bit of salty water.
Doesn't that defeat the object?
We're on a hill, so this is the last place you expect to find a yacht club, unless the polar ice caps melt and Chipping Norton's Market Square becomes a harbour.
Could happen.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for Luton on Sea.
Coming in sooner than they know it.
You're swimming past all the shopping trolleys, it'll be lovely. Mr. Taylor added, until now there's been no local yacht club, really, where those interested in boating can meet up without having to embark on a 2-hour journey to the Solent or longer to the east or the west coast ports.
Incredible. We are truly an eccentric bunch, aren't we?
Yes.
It's like having a skiing club in the Caribbean, isn't it?
But one thing I will say about Chipping Norton, it's the hometown of David Cameron, and it's where Jeremy Clarkson lived. So take it as you will.
Oh dear.
Cameron was in Costa in Aylesbury on Saturday.
Really?
Yeah. Apparently he goes in there quite often, but to be fair, my friend who works in there, he doesn't make a big deal of it because he's in there with his daughter. It's kind of like that's their time. Yeah. Don't hassle them. Just treat them as a normal customer. Well, come in peace.
I got a story a bit like that where my mum and dad used to go to the Victoria Club in Aylesbury, which is kind of like a working man's club. And my mum was getting out of the car and she heard someone swear. And she thought it was my dad, so she turned round to have a go at him, and then realised she was having a go at David Jason.
Fantastic.
Because he lives locally to Aylesbury, and David Jason turned round to my mum and said, "Sorry, I am a plonker, aren't I?"
Brilliant.
Oh, how long's he been waiting to use that line?
About as long as he's been waiting to reuse that Batman costume.
Yeah. I have another little story here, which is once again from www.kingslinonline.com, who sponsor 1800 Online. And I don't want you to think that this is purely a dog-based website, but reported on February the 6th of this year, the most missed dog in the UK is somewhere in Norfolk. The Norfolk-bred dog was featured on the Alan Titchmarsh show, so it's flying high straight away, and its news of its disappearance is spreading, but more help is needed. Can you help find this missing Nova Scotia duck-tolling retriever dog? Harvey was bred in Norfolk and lives in Norfolk, so he needs local people to help bring him home. Harvey could be anywhere in Norfolk by now, and there's a video on YouTube showing Harvey, and he needs to be reunited with his distraught owners and lonely sister. But it's the fact that he's a Nova Scotia duck-trolling retriever dog.
Now that's a name to remember.
Duck-tolling, whatever duck-tolling is.
They charge the ducks for going past.
Do you think he has a high-vis vest and a limp? Oi, come here! Oi, come on now. You're not going past here without paying. Barrier's staying down until you've coughed up, kid.
Yeah, they're not paying their bill.
Oh, what?
Oh dear.
On that, I'm going to have to move on and say, does everyone remember the cat that got arrested for the break-in at the Brazilian prison? Countering the dog story with a cat story.
No.
Did you not hear about this?
No.
It's going back to January of this year. A cat was detained in the grounds of a jail in Brazil with contraband goods for prisoners strapped to its body with tape.
Oh, for goodness sake.
The white cat was apprehended crossing the main prison gate.
See, if that had been Dead giveaway. It was a white cat. They saw it coming a mile away. If it had been a different colour cat, so maybe
it's a white and black cat looking at the pictures.
All right. If it had been like a turtle shell cat, it might have been more camouflaged. It could have snuck in a bit more.
The incident took place at a jail in Arapiraca City, 250 kilometres southwest of Recife in Alagoas State, apparently. And looking at the items it's got pictures of, the cat had a mobile phone and earphones.
I'm just getting images of one of these cat videos on YouTube now.
This is phenomenal. I'm gonna take the link so you can see the pictures of what was actually taken from the cat. It's pretty comical. I can't see properly. It looks like microchips, but at first glance it looked like dog tags, which I found quite ironic. But it's got a couple of the blades you put in a power screwdriver or power, that sort of thing. It's got a couple of those. Yeah.
I thought you were going to say there was going to be something like some catnip and some.
He was breaking. He was breaking into a cattery.
So it gets on the other side with a bird in its mouth.
Nice.
It gets on the other side with a bird in its mouth, drops it on the floor, and goes, "Hey, there you go. Look what I brought you."
Yeah, jealous. Look what I can do. Takes it back in his mouth and strolls back off across the gate. But so I can't believe you hadn't heard of that one, Alan. I remember it making the news as well. It definitely made the national news.
I must have missed that because I was possibly drunk at the time, as were 30 nuns. A pub owner was fined after Irish nuns are caught drinking illegally. An Irish publican has been prosecuted after police found dozens of nuns drinking illegally several hours past closing time on his premises. He was fined €700, which is £605, after his pub was raided twice in one night. And they were hauling out nuns, apparently.
Yeah, sorry, officer. I thought they were penguins. Yeah. I've got a story here. There's a new Twitter service which will allow users to carry on their stream of consciousness in 140 characters or less from beyond the grave.
Whoa.
Lives On will analyse users' Twitter feeds and learn their likes, tastes and syntax to continue posting similar messages and updates and links after they've passed. The service, due to launch in March, has the tagline, "When your heart stops beating, you'll keep tweeting."
Wow.
I think I'm going to have to sign up with that.
Lives On is being developed by London-based advertising agency Lean Mean Fighting Machine, and Dave Bedwood, a creative partner at the firm, told The Guardian he was ready for negative response for this service. It divides people on a gut level. Before you even get to the philosophical or ethical arguments, he said. It often offends some and delights others. Imagine if people started to see a legitimate but small way to live on. Cryogenics cost a fortune. This is free, and I bet it would work better than a frozen head.
What an excellent idea.
Although
it's actually prompted me to look at my own Twitter feed, and think maybe it could work for me.
It says, although it is similar to the plot of a recent episode of Channel 4's sitcom Black Mirror, in which a woman uses to social media to talk to her dead boyfriend, the developers claim they came up with the service in 2011. When Black Mirror themes were published in the press, it seemed the perfect time to get something up, but we were generally doing the experiment before the show. Lives On uses artificial intelligence to analyse the user's online behaviour and their style of writing. This allows it to scour the internet to post the kind of links its user would like, as well as mimic their manner of communicating and favourite appropriate tweets to create a personal digital afterlife. An early post on the Lives On Twitter feed pronounces, "God doesn't exist, servers do, sign up for the real afterlife."
That's fantastic. I could keep twomping from beyond the grave. It's been, I said it prompted me to look at my Twitter feed. I've been on Twitter since January 2009, and I currently stand at 61,457 tweets.
Blimey.
Wow.
Is that a lot?
Yes and no, because I've seen people with that amount that haven't been on it as long as you.
Ah.
Yeah, but they're people that go, this is my foot. Oh, Andrew, you do that. Funnily, so do I on Facebook. But
do you gentlemen know of the concept of twomping? I mentioned it.
Is that basically Twitter humping?
No, no. It's tweeting from the toilet.
There we go.
Yes.
In which case, I'm a fan.
Good. A fellow twumper. Excellent.
Yes.
I'm not sure if I was the first, but I'm definitely the one who uses the hashtag twump and hashtag twomping most, I think.
Well, it's natural to me anyway, because the Necessarium is my office.
Oh, what a fantastic place to have your office.
Yeah, he's got it all set up in there, shelves.
Have you got a
stool? Yeah.
Have you got a bench and or a desk or?
Well, it's called a laundry basket, but yes.
Excellent.
Multiple uses.
Now, whilst we're in the smallest room, gentlemen, are you aware of and I'm not affiliated to this company at all, the Squatty Potty?
No.
I have one on its way. I ordered one yesterday. The Squatty Potty is a device, and this is quite genuine, which fits around the pedestal basin of the throne, which you can then move forward, and you put your feet on it, and it lifts your knees up, puts your body and your legs at a 35-degree angle, which is the best angle for twomping.
Really?
It's been scientifically worked out. If your legs are at 35 degrees to your body, then twomping becomes sheer bliss, apparently.
Now, there's an idea for the lazy boy. You can make it into a kind of commode.
Oh.
You could watch the TV, you could order a pizza, you could do everything. You wouldn't need to leave.
No.
As long as it had a flush.
Well, that's true.
Not like these the porta potties that we used to have on the boat, because if you had a lazy boy that filled up like that, you wouldn't want to be around it for long.
Dear Lord, no. Have you spent a lot of time on boats, have you?
Yeah, I practically, because
most of your childhood was on boats.
I grew up on one pretty much. Like every summer we used to go on holiday on my dad's boat. So he used to have a fiberglass cruiser until I think it was 94. And then after that we had a narrowboat for the best part of 15 years, and it was fantastic. The cruiser was about 20, was the cruiser 22, something like that, and the narrowboat was 27 foot, so they were only small, but yeah, I used to love holidays on the canal.
And the thing is, your dad used to take it so seriously. I mean, I remember...
I had to take a test to take the boat on my own with my cousin. I had to pass a test.
I remember the first time I went out on the cruiser, and your dad had the captain hat on, and he was saluting everybody as they went past, and kept calling me a landlubber and stuff.
We found a cap that says, it says "damn seagulls," and it's got some on the top of it.
Oh, fantastic! I nearly bought a narrowboat to live on after I left the RAF. Yeah, it was that or the house we're in now, and we ended up going for the house because it was just more practical.
Yeah, definitely. It's great for holidays, I think, the canal boats, but I don't think I would want to live on one. It's just great to get away and be literally in the middle of nowhere, no light pollution, looking up at the sky on a clear night.
Yeah. It is something myself and Dee Dee, my wife, want to do once the kids have left home and we haven't got as many ties. We are genuinely going to, we're going to get a narrowboat, we're going to live on it and become water gypsies.
Well, down the Broads or
round the Grand Union initially.
Right.
Oh, fantastic! You're going to travel the system effectively, like the Grand Union, the Oxfordshire canals.
That's right.
Possibly the Thames or not?
Well, there's different rules and regs for the Thames and a different licence required. So,
well, you know Timothy Spall.
yes.
He has a narrowboat, but it's been modified to go on the sea.
Oh, right. Because
And-
there was that narrowboat that did the crossing. Is that the same
That's
one?
the one, yeah.
Oh.
And he's normally he spends most of his time down in Poole in Dorset, and we actually saw him down there when we were down there. But it's a beast of a boat actually. It must be ready to cope with sea conditions.
I'm sure there's a keel on that thing. There must be.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
But it does appeal to me a little bit actually.
Because you can stay anywhere on the system. There's over 2,000 miles of system open, and the regs basically say that as long as you don't stay beyond 14 days in one place, you can stay anywhere you want.
Adri, am I right in thinking that you know the Tesco's on Tring Road?
Yeah.
Have they got mooring points behind there?
There is, it's just above the Park Street lot.
Tesco's bloody think of everything, don't they?
They've done that for years because there's loads of. You'll find that there is actually quite a lot of. It might not just be Tesco's, but the ones I happen to have stopped at, there is Tesco's right next to the canal. There's one at Leighton Buzzard as well.
They don't.
And that used to have moorings right next to the Tesco's, but it makes sense.
Yeah, of course it
does. Because everyone on the canal needs to do shopping.
That's right, and obviously when the narrowboats have, when the horses have done their time on the towpath, obviously they need somewhere to go.
It's quick march. There's Tesco's.
Yeah.
So mooring points, Tesco's, and pubs. That's basically it.
Basically it.
But that was so that you could feed your horse with Guinness, and then when it comes to the end of their time, you can get rid of them.
Yeah.
So you'd need some food.
You give them food at the pub, they become food at Tesco's. That's how it works.
I was going to ask if either of you gentlemen actually eaten horse, but I think we all have at some point.
Not knowingly.
Not knowing about it, I have.
No, not knowingly.
I've eaten zebra.
What zebra's very close to a horse. So.
Yeah. And if you've eaten chorizo, you've probably eaten donkey. So.
Right, okay. Yeah.
See, the thing is, on the European mainland, they're all scratching their heads wondering what we're going on, why we're all worried, because...
I mean, it's not... There's a... I was trying to download it, but I couldn't get hold of it. On Audio Boo, for the local radio station, Jack FM, they've got a news thing that they've put on there about... there's a restaurant in Bishop Stortford that is openly selling horse burgers. Through the proper chain, not the dodgy type.
Yeah.
But people are now interested to taste what it should taste like, rather than what it shouldn't taste like.
Do you think this has been a big marketing ploy?
I think it could be. I mean, I don't know if you heard the story about some German MP. If you can hear that wasn't me. That's somebody on a motorbike.
Did wonder.
Some German MP said yesterday that this food should not be necessarily wasted. It should go to the poor people.
Oh.
And I'm thinking, that sounds remarkably like let them eat cake.
It does, doesn't it? It's quite Orwellian as well.
I think, well, why would you feed this to the poor people? They need something to boost them up. This stuff has got probably chemicals, drugs in it, painkillers and whatnot in it.
Yeah.
The reason we're getting rid of it, it's not fit for human consumption.
Well, I think that was one of the big things, wasn't it? Because that all these horse meat was supposed to be pumped full of these drugs and stuff and antibiotics and what have you.
I mean, I've got not a problem with eating horse at all. My niece, however, is very big on horses, and she's pulling her hair out over it. But as far as she's concerned, horses are made for riding, and that's it.
Yes.
But I mean, as my other half said to me the other day. She said, if I was hungry enough, I'd eat you.
Well, this is why, this is why you have to prepare. This is why you have to get storable foods, because when the time comes...
Just don't go to the main place you might normally go to stock up on household furniture, because I'm just reading here that IKEA has found horse meat in its meatballs.
Meat,
apparently.
Horsey balls in IKEA.
In IKEA, in the Czech Republic.
Oh, goodness me.
Yeah, I mean, if you check any meat-based products, apart from pure meat, I was reading how much of a sausage has to be actually meat.
Oh, it's
like 64%. And if it's an economy one, it's only 40-something%.
That's right. This sliding scale of percentage of meats, depending on whether we're economy or not, or premium, or...
If you can afford it, you can have more meat.
Yes.
Basically.
We can't guarantee what meat, but you can have some more.
It's meat. That's it. That's all you need to know.
and mechanically reclaimed meat as well. That's the sort of pink mush that goes into making up like dippers and things, isn't it? Apparently.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
how do they mechanically reclaim it, and B, which bits do they have to use machines on to get it out of the animal?
As I always call, when we're talking about awfully type products, it's what we refer to as lips and but
yes.
That just always makes me think of Adrian Mole from what we were talking about quite a long time ago, but with his awfully good.
Yeah, in the Adrian Mole books, when he got a little bit older, he went into satellite television as a celebrity chef, with meals made from offal called Awfully Good.
Dear. Oh, no, I didn't read any of those books, sort of beyond the sort of, like the first diary thing.
The latest one, he is now 40.
Oh, right, so he's kept going all this time.
Yeah, the latest one is called Adrian Mole, The Prostrate Years. There was also one called Adrian Mole and the Weapons of Mass Destruction, which was a really good one.
Oh, right. Well, I'm going to have to look these up and get them on my my fruit pad so that I can read them.
Your lemon pad? Oh.
Yes.
Is it a Keith Lemon pad, is it?
Yes.
Bang tidy.
From Keith Lemon Bones to Keith Lemon pads.
He's bang tidy.
Bang tidy.
But there's I think there's 8 in the series altogether, Alan.
Right. Oh, right. Okay.
So there's still room for some more, because we've had, since the last one, we've had Cameron coming in and all sorts of bits and pieces happening. I mean, the weapons of mass destruction. The best part of the story is that Adrian has. He's booked a holiday to Cyprus, but is a bit worried that it may be a bit dangerous to travel over to that side of the country world, because of being how close it is to Iraq and such like. And he's actually his travel agent has refused to refund him unless he can actually prove that they have weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. So he's actually written to Tony Blair saying, please could you clarify this for me, because my travel agent will not refund me.
This is the Garbage Pod, where your input is our output.
I would like to end this show with a piece of audio about a truly amazing woman.
My name is Jessica Cox, and I live in Tucson, Arizona. I'm a motivational speaker. I've traveled to 17 different countries. My situation of being born without arms requires a lot of creativity. I would see all the kids around me climbing up the monkey bars or climbing up the slide, and for me, I felt somewhat frustrated because I was prevented from that. I wanted to run up and climb up that slide just like all the other kids. Sometimes I would envision flying over the playground and being Superwoman. I realized that I needed to adapt to the way everyone else did things. And it wasn't about catering to my needs or my special situation, but it was more about me adapting and being creative and coming up with ways of using my feet or using other methods to become independent. I've heard the saying a number of times that, life is 10% what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to it. So that's why I fell in love with psychology. Psychology fascinated me in that sense that it really did credit a lot to how we thought. It was a 3-year process to become a pilot. I had to find a specific airplane, and it has 2 less controls than most standard airplanes. And so therefore I can actually keep my right foot on the yoke, my left foot on the throttle. The most incredible, most empowering experience I've ever had. It's that feeling of being free, of being, in the sky, and just that incredible feeling of being up there. What I enjoy is not really knowing where I'm going to be next. In the next 4 months, I'm going to be in 4 different countries.
And I remember promising myself I would never again wear those fake, heavy, prosthetic arms. Here's our flight. We will go out to the different areas of Ethiopia, visit with the families of children with disabilities, and help them overcome their own difference as well, and bring that confidence that I had to develop over the years and help share that with them. The achievement that I am most proud of, I think, is maturing from someone who was angry and upset about being differently able to being someone who was different, to now being able to celebrate that and use it as an opportunity to give hope and inspiration to other people.
That was Jessica Cox, who has no arms, and basically she does everything with her feet. And as you can tell by the clip, she's just recently learnt how to fly a plane.
Amazing.
She is truly amazing woman. And as she said, she's a motivational speaker as well. I'll put a link up to the YouTube video that audio was taken from in the show notes, so that you can see how remarkable Jessica actually is. Also on YouTube you will see some of her talks that she has given. Yeah, she really is motivational.
He's the lovely chappie from Letchworth Garden City.
Don't encourage him.
This is Mark Taylor.
That wimp! I taught him everything he knows.
So now we've come to the end of the show. Did you enjoy your time on board the Garbage Pod, Alan?
I certainly did. Thank you for letting me come aboard.
It's a pleasure to have you, sir, and you're welcome to come on board again.
I look forward to docking.
And as always, it's a pleasure to have the Bullhawk on board as well.
Thank you very much, sir, and great to meet you and spend some quality time with you, Alan, and hope you've enjoyed yourself, sir.
Most definitely. It's been a pleasure to meet you. Thank you.
For links to items mentioned in this or any other episode, visit the show's page at www.thegarbagepod.weebly.com. Whilst you're there, why not have a look around the website? There you can find out a little bit more about us, read the blog, and visit the video vault. If you want to keep up to date with what's going on in the podosphere, you can follow us on Twitter and Facebook by clicking on the social media buttons at the top right hand corner of the website. You can also subscribe to us on iTunes, the RSS feed, and now on YouTube there also. Let us know what you think of the show.
Send an email to garbagepod@virginmedia.com.
That would be fantastic if you could. Well, that only leaves us to say,
it's good night from me.
And it's good night from him.
Don't forget, if you like what you hear, spread the word. Take care one and all, and I'll speak to you again soon.
The Garbage Pod is a Spamhead production.
They had a gerbil for that specific purpose.